What's up guys, today we have Ian on the show. He's another big boy and beast of a man sitting at just under 300 pounds. Pretending to pull guard causes Ian to step forward, making it easy to reach the ankle. He also retreats, making it easier to lift up on the ankle because his lead leg becomes light with all of his weight on his back leg. I land in the perfect position for a knee slide, but Ian manages to get a shallow underhook, which is why I come all the way around because it negates his underhook. If Ian had kept turning to his side, I would have attacked his back, but Ian recognizes this and hides his back on the mat and accepts north-south instead. I'm just holding Ian a little loose because I want to react to Ian's reaction rather than trying to impose my will on a stronger opponent. There's this cool highlight reel type choke where you grab the pants and roll through with your knee on the shoulder, but I've never really done one. I've been trying to roll a little more loose and creative rather than just smash. It's tough with the camera in front of you though. I still have the collar and I'm trying to get something going, but then just abandon it and invert into my guard. Notice how I put my shoulders on the mat before inverting? A good inversion is on the shoulders. My back only touches the mat as I finish the inversion. Right away I take grips. Elevating Ian causes him to post his hands on the mat, which gives me access to an underhook. My hand blocks Ian from being able to grab my head, then I pop out the back door. That was smooth if I do say so myself. Finishing Ian from here would be difficult, so I just pull him to the side. Because our bodies are so connected, he will go where I go. Now always feed one lapel from one hand to the other for a tight grip. Ian does a great and technical job of escaping my back control, so I grab his wrist to try and stop him from turning. I lose it, so I grab his lapel to stop him from turning. In a regular bow and arrow choke, the grip on the pants stops your opponent from turning, so you can pull with your choking arm. This choke has the same mechanics except a different grip to prevent the turn. That's why it works still. It's not like I learned or practiced this choke, it's just a modified bow and arrow. That's why it's important to understand how techniques work rather than just knowing how to do them. That's what I'm here for though, to teach you. It's been a while since I asked and we have a lot of new subscribers, so let me know where in the world you're watching from. I always find that super interesting. Also make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. This is a great example of where many people go wrong on their takedowns. Ian shot from too far out and only set it up with a small feint, which I didn't bite on. A feint is when you pretend to do something to get a reaction. Ian tries to get a reaction out of me by bringing his hands to my face first. Now I have two options, front chokes or the back. It's going to be a lot easier to attack the back than a front choke because 1, we're in the gi, and 2, Ian is a lot bigger and stronger than me. Ian grabs my leg, and if he can keep my hips close to him, he can take me down, but if I can keep my hips far away from him, I can use it to keep his arm trapped in a back take. Ian tries to roll through to re-establish guard, but I make sure to roll through and take the exact same position we started in. I still really want that cool choke I mentioned earlier. I probably should have practiced first and made sure to grab his pants, but instead, I just YOLO it and end up on the bottom. This is some solid work from Ian here. Normally I feel comfortable elevating people here, but Ian's weight and technique give me trouble. He backsteps and I try to catch his leg with my left butterfly hook, but miss. And now I'm like, oh shit, I can't get my guard passed on YouTube. Now my late guard retention is just going to be getting my bottom knee between me and Ian. If I were Ian, I would have tried to change my angle and go to north-south, though my right arm framing on his leg is somewhat preventing him. Now I have my half guard and can breathe a sigh of relief. I use my butterfly half to elevate Ian so I can work towards a better guard for me, but almost get backstepped again. But I pop my head out the back door and just keep it there. My head is blocking Ian's arm and elbow from being able to grab an overhook or anything defensive. Instead of trying to roll as Ian rolls and try to take his back, I let him roll and take top position. I can feel Ian's arm is separated from his body, making it easy to grab a C-grip on his arm. I then staple it with my leg so he can't use it to defend submissions. I lose the staple and look back to see what I can get, but realize his left arm also has space to bring my knee over for a staple. I think my black belt senses were tingling. When you have a staple, the far arm, which in this case would be Ian's right arm, is vulnerable to attacks. The Americana, Kimura, arm lock, and armbar are all available for the taking, but Ian's grip on my pants is going to make me much less mobile. I use my foot to pry Ian's grip off me. I like to think of wedges like Excalibur's sword being pulled out of the stone. You wouldn't be able to pull it out without your feet planted on the rock and being used as wedges. I use my foot to block Ian's hands from coming together. This makes armbars easier on anyone, but especially stronger opponents. Alright, new thing we're doing, quote of the day. I was a white belt once, so was your instructor. We all sucked, but just stuck with it. Make sure you're the white belt that never quit too. We're back standing and grip fighting. I get a little too cocky and try another fake guard pull ankle pick, but miss, so I just pull guard. You don't always have to break grips for this technique to work, but it definitely would have helped me. Ian uses his grips on my lapel to maintain the distance and stop the takedown. I feel like if I pull guard now, maybe it'll be easier to trick Ian with the fake guard pull ankle pick again later in the round. Ian backing away takes my feet grips off of him, making me vulnerable to a guard pass, so I scoop my butt forward like my dog does on the carpet, and now have solid grips again. Ian drops his weight down into half guard. I'd much prefer a knee shield, but in this position, I just need to prioritize my head not being grabbed and not letting Ian have an underhook or put me flat on my back. I attempt a John Wayne sweep but cannot balance him enough. In the process, Ian is able to grab my head, which again is not good at all for me. So I bring my right arm in and use it as a frame to break the grip. I initially try and redirect Ian's arm across my body but can't. Now I'm left with my left arm being high and elbows separated from my body. This makes it easy for Ian to take an underhook, but the underhook won't be nearly as dangerous for me if Ian can't grab my head. I'm patient, controlling Ian's grips while I wait for my opportunity to get my left arm back in good position. Really quick, while not much is happening, I just want to thank everyone that supports the channel either through the Patreon or comments and likes on my videos. Your support and kind words really motivate me to keep making these extremely time-consuming videos. I'm just really glad you like them. Now I have my arm back in front and elbow to my body, which is way better, so I off-balance Ian to see what I can get. That's a little better for me and end up in close guard. Now that I have close guard, I can see that Ian's butt is a little off his heels, which would make the scissor sweep a good choice, but he isn't leaning forward quite enough and it doesn't work. I take a collar and sleeve grip, which is very versatile, and right foot on his bicep like a spider guard, but without the sleeve grip. This is called a phantom grip and is great for triangles and keeping people's weight off you. Ian stands up and gives me the opportunity to put in my lasso guard. Lasso guard is very difficult to pass. Many in modern BJJ use it to stall, unfortunately. Ian decides to fall back for an ankle lock, which would be very difficult from here with the grip I have on his sleeve. He bails and comes back up, but to his knees instead of standing this time. I wanted Ian to stand so he could hit a beautiful lasso sweep, but I find myself in more of a half guard lasso. The standard lasso sweep is pretty much the same in half guard though. I grab Ian's pants and turn both knees to the side to off balance him. His arm being lassoed stops him from being able to post out and stop me. I come up on top to a quarter guard or 3/4 mount depending on how you look at it. I really want a rolling back attack, but Ian's right arm is stopping me. He brings it down and then I try to go for it, but then he flattens himself out so I can't get it. Ian's doing a good job of not letting me grab his head. If there's one thing you should really take away from all my videos is never let anyone grab your head. It makes it so much easier to do any jiu-jitsu when your head is not controlled. I start to lose position, so I do a big back step to get into side control. My right knee pins Ian's hips to the ground and the back step travels far, all the way to the mat to prevent the hook from tracking it. Ian's arm isn't super tight to his body, so I do a quick push with one hand, passing it to the other. I drop my elbow down to the mat and beside Ian's ear to really lock it in, but Ian is squirmy. I also use my head to help pin the arm to the ground. The closer you bring the hand to the hips, the tighter the americana will be. I bet Ian has really tight shoulders from being a powerlifter and a big guy, so his range of motion will be a bit more limited than a smaller person. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you did and you're still here, I really appreciate it. Please leave a comment or fist bump if you're still here, and I'll see you at the next one.